The ship was dying. Could feel it in the way the controls shook under her hands. She could hear it in the terrible sound coming from the engines. Warning lights covered every screen in red. The air smelled like burning metal and melting wires. "Come on," she whispered to her vessel, "just a little more." But the ship did not listen. It never did when things went wrong. The cruiser, once the pride of her small fleet, was now nothing more than falling metal. The hull had 3 holes in it. The main engine was completely dead. The backup engine was failing fast. Looked at her navigation screen. There was only one place close enough to reach, a human station. She felt her stomach turn at the thought. Humans. Of all the species in the galaxy, she had to ask humans for help. The people had known about humans for almost 50 years now. They were a young species. They had only been traveling in space for a few centuries. They were not strong like the. They were not smart like the. They were not fast like the. They were just average, good at nothing special, masters of nothing important. Most humans worked as laborers throughout the galaxy. They fixed things. They carried things. They cleaned things. They did the jobs that other species did not want to do, had seen many humans in her travels. They always seemed to be covered in grease or dirt, working with their hands like primitive creatures. But she had no choice. Her ship would not survive another hour without repairs. She turned toward the human station and pushed her dying engines as hard as they could go. The station appeared on her screen. It was small and ugly. Metal boxes connected by tubes floating in the darkness of space. There was no beauty in it, no art, just function. Very human, she thought with disgust. "Human station," she spoke into her communication device. "This is commander of the vessel Starlight. I require immediate landing permission. My ship is damaged." There was a moment of silence. Then a voice came back. It was calm and steady. "Starlight, this is Station 47. We see your damage on our screens. Bay 3 is open for you. Do you need help with landing?" Felt her face grow hot with shame. Did she need help? Did this human think she could not land her own ship? "I am perfectly capable of landing," she said coldly. "Understood. Bay 3 is ready. Welcome to Station 47. The landing was not easy. Had to use every bit of her skill to bring the damaged ship down safely. The Starlight hit the landing bay floor harder than she wanted. The sound of metal scraping against metal filled the air. But she was down. She was alive. Sat in her pilot seat for a long moment. She took deep breaths to calm herself. Then she stood up and walked to the exit door. She pressed the button to open it, and a wave of strange air hit her face. It smelled like oil and metal and something cooking far away. The landing bay was large but messy. Tools were everywhere. Pieces of ships and machines covered the floor. Several humans moved around doing various tasks. They wore simple clothes covered in stains. Their hands were dirty. Their faces were tired. Stepped down from her ship and looked around with open disgust. This place was nothing like the clean, perfect stations of her people. This was chaos. This was disorder. This was human. "Commander." She turned toward the voice. A human male was walking toward her. He was average height with black hair and dark eyes. His face was calm and showed no expression. He wore the same dirty clothes as the others. There was grease on his hands and a small scar above his left eye. "I am," he said simply. "I run the repair bay. What happened to your ship?" Looked at him the way she might look at an insect. He was just a mechanic, a human mechanic, the lowest of the low in her mind. "My ship was attacked by raiders near the system," she said. Her voice was cold and proud. "The engines are damaged. The hull has multiple breaks. I need repairs immediately. I am willing to pay standard rates." Nodded slowly. He walked past her toward the ship. He moved around it, looking at the damage. His eyes were careful and focused. He touched some of the broken parts gently, like a doctor examining a patient. "Raiders did this?" he asked. "Yes, 3 small ships. They came out of nowhere." You fought them off alone. Lifted her chin. Of course I am a commander, I do not run from battle. Said nothing. He continued to examine the ship. After several minutes he came back to stand in front of her. The damage is serious, he said, but we can fix it. The hull repairs will take 2 days, the engines will take longer, maybe 4 or 5 days total. 5 days, his voice was sharp. That is unacceptable. I have important business to attend to. I cannot wait 5 days on this dirty station. His face did not change. He did not seem angry or hurt by her words. He just looked at her with those calm, dark eyes. I understand you are in a hurry, he said, but your ship is badly damaged. If we rush the repairs, they will not hold. You will be back in trouble within a week. If we do it right, your ship will fly like new. Wanted to argue. She wanted to demand faster work, but something in his voice made her stop. He spoke with a quiet certainty that was strange for a simple mechanic. Fine, she said at last. 5 days, but I expect quality work. Ships are not like your human junk. They require skill and precision. I know, said simply. I have worked on ships before. Your vessel will be in good hands. He turned and called out to some of the other humans in the bay. They came quickly, and he gave them instructions in a quiet voice. Watched them work. They moved fast and seemed to know exactly what to do. She was surprised by their efficiency, but she would never admit it. We have guest quarters on level 3, said to her. They are small but clean. The food hall is on level 2. You are free to go anywhere on the station except the restricted areas. And where are these restricted areas? Asked. Level 5 and below. Engineering sections. Nothing interesting for a guest. Made a small sound of displeasure. She did not like being told where she could and could not go, but she was a guest here and her ship was broken. She had no power in this situation and she hated it. Very well, she said. I will go to my quarters. Send someone to tell me when there is news about my ship. Of course, Commander. Walked away without another word. She did not thank him. She did not say goodbye. She simply left, her head held high, her steps proud and strong. Watched her go. His face was still calm, still showing nothing, but his eyes followed her until she disappeared through the door. Then he turned back to the damaged ship and let out a small breath. She seems nice, said a voice beside him. Looked at the speaker. It was one of his best repair workers. She was a young woman with short hair and quick hands. She was smiling in a way that said she was joking. She is scared, said quietly. People act proud when they are scared. It makes them feel safe. Raised her eyebrows. Scared, she looked pretty confident to me and pretty rude. Her ship was attacked. She was alone. She survived, but barely. Now she is stuck on a station full of strangers, waiting for people she looks down on to save her. Shook his head slowly. That would scare anyone. Looked at him for a long moment. Sometimes said things that made her wonder about him. He was just a mechanic, just like her. But sometimes he seemed to understand things that others could not see. You are too kind, she said finally. She called our station dirty. She called our work junk. Words are just words, said. What matters is what we do. Let's give her ship the best repair we can. That will be our answer to her words. He walked toward the damaged ship and began to work. His hands moved with a skill that still found amazing after all these years. He seemed to know every part of every ship, even alien ones. He could fix things that others said were impossible to fix. Watched him for a moment, then joined him in the work. The other mechanics did the same. Soon the bay was full of the sounds of tools and voices, everyone working together on the broken ship. On level 3 found her guest quarters. Had been right. The room was small, but it was also clean, much cleaner than she had expected. There was a bed, a small table, a chair, and a window that looked out into space. She sat on the bed and looked at her hands. They were shaking a little. The fear she had hidden from everyone was now showing itself in the privacy of this small room. The attack had been terrible. The raiders had come so fast, so suddenly. She had fought with everything she had. She had killed 2 of their ships and damaged the 3rd. But her own ship had paid a heavy price. For a moment in the middle of the battle, she had thought she was going to die. And now she was here, on a human station, depending on human mechanics to fix her ship so she could go home. The thought made her feel sick. She lay down on the bed and closed her eyes. 5 days. She could survive 5 days. She would stay in her room as much as possible. She would avoid the humans as much as possible. And then she would leave this place and never come back. As she fell into an uneasy sleep, she did not know that the next 5 days would change everything she believed about humans. She did not know that the quiet mechanic named was hiding secrets that would shake her to her core. And she certainly did not know that by the time she learned the truth, it would already be too late. The first morning on the station was difficult for her. She woke up confused, not remembering where she was. Then the memories came back. The attack, the crash, the humans. She got out of bed and looked at herself in the small mirror on the wall. Her silver skin looked dull. Her purple eyes had dark circles under them. Her white hair was messy and tangled. She looked tired and weak, and she hated it. After cleaning herself and putting on fresh clothes from her bag, she decided to find some food. She had not eaten since before the attack, and her stomach was making angry sounds. The food hall on level 2 was bigger than she expected. There were many tables and chairs, and a long counter where food was served. The smell was strange but not unpleasant. Some kind of meat was cooking, and there were vegetables and bread and other things she did not recognize. There were about 30 humans in the room. They sat in small groups, eating and talking and laughing. They looked at her when she entered, but no one said anything rude. A few even nodded at her in greeting. Walked to the counter and looked at the food. A large human woman stood behind it, wearing an apron and a friendly smile. "Good morning," the woman said. "You must be our guest." "I am. What would you like to eat?" Looked at the food with suspicion. "What is safe for my species?" Smile did not fade. "Almost everything here. We have hosted visitors before. The only thing you should avoid is the red sauce. It has a spice that your people do not digest well. Everything else is fine." Was surprised. She had not expected humans to know anything about biology. She pointed at some meat and vegetables and put them on a plate for her. "Thank you," said quietly. The words felt strange coming out of her mouth. She did not usually thank humans. "You are welcome," said warmly. "If you need anything else, just ask." Took her plate to an empty table in the corner. She wanted to be alone. She did not want to talk to anyone. She just wanted to eat and then go back to her room. But as she ate, she found herself watching the humans around her. They were different from what she had expected. They were not all dirty and tired. Many of them looked clean and healthy. They talked to each other like friends and family. They laughed at jokes. They shared food from their plates. It was strange. It was almost like watching her own people back home. "No," she told herself firmly. "They are nothing like us. They are just pretending to be civilized." After eating, decided to walk around the station. She told herself it was just to pass the time. But really, she wanted to see how the repairs on her ship were going. The repair bay was loud and busy when she arrived. Her ship was in the center, surrounded by humans and machines. They had already started working on the hull. She could see new metal being put in place of the damaged parts. Was there, of course. He stood near the front of the ship, looking at something on a tablet. Several other humans stood around him, and he was talking to them in a quiet voice. They listened carefully and nodded at his words. Watched from a distance. She did not want to get too close, but she could not help noticing something strange about the scene. The other humans looked at with respect, not just the respect that workers give to their boss. It was something deeper, something more. They looked at him the way soldiers looked at their commander. Shook her head. That was a silly thought. He was just a mechanic. He probably just had good leadership skills, that was all. She walked closer to the ship and noticed her. He gave his tablet to one of the other humans and came to meet her. "Good morning, Commander," he said. "Did you sleep well?" "Well enough," said. She looked at the ship. "How is the work going?" "Good. We finished removing all the damaged hull sections. Today we will start putting in new ones. Your ship uses a special metal that is hard to work with, but we have experience with it." Raised her eyebrows. "You have worked with ships often?" "A few times. Your people do not usually come to stations like ours, but sometimes their ships get damaged just like yours. They come to us because we are the closest help." "I see," looked at the workers. They moved with speed and skill. She had to admit they seemed to know what they were doing. "Your people work fast." "They are good at their jobs," said. There was a hint of pride in his voice, but it was quiet, not boastful. "Who taught them?" asked. "Different teachers. Some learned at schools, some learned from other mechanics, some learned here on the station." "And you, where did you learn?" Was silent for a moment. His eyes looked far away, like he was seeing something from long ago. "Many places," he said finally. "I have been fixing ships for a long time." It was not really an answer, but did not push. She did not care about the history of a human mechanic. She only cared about getting her ship fixed and leaving. "I will let you work," she said. "Please inform me if there are any problems." "Of course, Commander." Walked away, but she did not go back to her room. Instead, she explored the station. She walked through the halls and looked at the different areas. There was a medical center, a small market, a room full of exercise equipment, and a library with actual paper books. Everywhere she went, she saw humans living their lives. They were not the simple laborers she had imagined. They had families here. Children ran through the halls, playing games. Old people sat in comfortable chairs, reading or talking. Young people worked and studied and planned for their futures. It made uncomfortable. It was easier to look down on humans when she thought of them as primitive workers. But these humans had built a community here. A small, ugly community on a small, ugly station, but a community nonetheless. In the afternoon, returned to the repair bay. She told herself she just wanted to check on her ship again, but really she was curious about something. She was curious about. He was working on the engines now. The engine room of her ship was open and was inside it, surrounded by wires and tubes and glowing parts. His hands moved fast, connecting things, disconnecting things, checking things. Watched him for a long time. There was something about the way he worked that bothered her. He was too good. His movements were too precise. He seemed to know exactly where every part was, even parts that were unique to ships. How does a human mechanic know our technology so well? She wondered. She remembered something her father had told her long ago. The best way to understand a machine is to take it apart and put it back together 1,000 times. The second best way is to destroy many of them in battle. In battle. Shook her head again. She was being paranoid. This was just a mechanic. A skilled mechanic, yes, but still just a mechanic. Humans did not fight in major battles. They did not have the courage or the strength. Everyone knew that. You watch him a lot. Turned quickly. A young human woman was standing beside her. It was the same woman she had seen talking to yesterday. She thought her name was. "I am watching my ship," said coldly. "I want to make sure it is being repaired properly." Smiled. "Sure. That's why you are looking at instead of the ship." Felt her face grow warm. "I do not know what you're talking about." "It's okay. Everyone watches when he works. He's different from the rest of us." Leaned against a pile of boxes and crossed her arms. "He came to this station about 10 years ago. No one knows where he came from. He never talks about his past." "That is strange," said before she could stop herself. "Very strange. But he's the best mechanic any of us have ever seen. He can fix anything. Ships, machines, computers, life support systems. Anything. It's like he was born knowing how everything works. Looked at again. He was deep inside the engine room now, barely visible. Maybe he just has natural talent, she said. Maybe, shrugged. Or maybe he learned somewhere else before he came here, somewhere that taught him things we can't imagine. Like where? Gave her a strange look. If I knew that, it wouldn't be a mystery, would it? She walked away, leaving alone with her thoughts. Stood there for a long time, watching work on her ship. The questions in her mind grew bigger and bigger. Who was this human? Where had he learned his skills? Why was he hiding on a small repair station in the middle of nowhere? But then she reminded herself that it did not matter. He was just a human. Whatever his story was, it could not be very interesting. Humans did not have interesting stories. They were too simple for that. Still, as the day went on, found herself returning to the repair bay again and again. She told herself she was checking on her ship, but her eyes always found their way to the quiet mechanic with the calm face and the skilled hands. That night had trouble sleeping. She lay in her bed, looking at the ceiling, thinking about everything she had seen. The humans on this station were not what she had expected. They were organized. They were skilled. They had built something real here. And he was the strangest of all. There was something about him that did not fit. He was too calm, too confident, too capable. He acted like a man who had seen great things and done great things, not like a simple mechanic. Turned over and closed her eyes. She was thinking too much. She needed to rest. In a few more days, her ship would be fixed, and she would leave this place forever. She would forget about the station and the humans and the mysterious mechanic named. But sleep did not come easily, and when it did, her dreams were full of strange images. Fire and ships and battles in the darkness of space. And in the middle of it all, a human with calm eyes and a quiet voice, giving commands that shook the stars. She woke up with her heart racing and her body covered in sweat. The dream had felt so real, so powerful. She could still hear the echo of explosions and screaming. What was wrong with her? Why was she having such dreams? She looked out her window at the stars. They were quiet and peaceful, nothing like the chaos in her dream. She took deep breaths and tried to calm herself. It was just a dream. It meant nothing, was just a mechanic. There was no mystery, there was no secret. But even as she told herself these things, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered that she was wrong, that there was something hidden on this station, that the truth was waiting to be found. And that when she found it, everything would change. The third day started like the others. Woke up, ate breakfast in the food hall and went to check on her ship. The repairs were going well. The hull was almost finished and the work on the engines had made good progress. Was not in the repair bay when she arrived. One of the other mechanics told her he was on level 4, fixing a problem with the life support system. Felt a strange disappointment at his absence, though she would never admit it to herself. She walked around the station, trying to fill the empty hours. She visited the small market and looked at the goods for sale. She went to the library and read some human books. She even talked to a few humans, asking them questions about life on the station. The more she learned, the more confused she became. These humans were not simple. They were not stupid. They had dreams and hopes and fears just like her people. They loved their families and worked hard and tried to make their lives better. Why had she been taught to look down on them? Around midday, was sitting in the food hall, eating lunch alone. The room was quiet. Most people were working at this hour. Only a few old humans sat at other tables, drinking tea and talking softly. Then the alarm started. The sound was loud and harsh, filling every corner of the station. Red lights began to flash on the walls. A voice came over the speakers, calm but urgent. Attention all personnel. This is not a drill. Unknown ships approaching. All non-combat staff report to safe zones immediately. Repeat, this is not a drill. Stood up quickly, her heart was beating fast. Unknown ships, raiders, out here. The old humans in the food hall were moving toward the exits, their faces worried but not panicked. They had done this before, realized. They knew what to do. She followed them out into the hallway. People were moving quickly in both directions. Some were heading toward the safe zones. Others were running toward different parts of the station, their faces serious and determined. "Commander." She turned and saw running toward her. The young woman's face was pale, but her eyes were steady. "You need to come with me," said. "Orders. He wants you in the central control room." "Why, what is happening?" "Raiders, a big group, at least 12 ships. They must have heard about our repair business and think we have valuable parts." Grabbed her arm and started pulling her down the hall. "Come on, we don't have much time." Let herself be led. Her mind was racing. 12 ships, that was a serious attack force. How could a small repair station defend against that many enemies? The central control room was on level 4. It was a large space filled with screens and computers and communication equipment. About 15 humans were already there, working at different stations. They spoke in short, sharp sentences, passing information back and forth. And in the center of it all stood. He was no longer the quiet mechanic had seen in the repair bay. He stood straight and tall, his eyes moving from screen to screen, his face hard and focused. His voice was different too. It was still calm, but now it carried weight, authority, power. 3 ships coming from the east vector, 4 from the west, 5 approaching from below. His words were clear and precise. "They are trying to surround us. Standard raider formation. They expect us to panic and make mistakes." "What are your orders, sir?" asked one of the humans at a computer. "Sir thought they called him sir." "Activate the defense grid. Bring all weapons online. I want shields at maximum on all sections." Looked at another screen. "And get me communication with the raider fleet. I want to talk to them." The humans worked fast. Screens changed. Numbers appeared. A low hum filled the room as the station's systems came to life. Stood near the wall, watching in shock. This was not what she had expected. This was not a group of scared mechanics hiding from danger. This was a military operation. These humans knew exactly what they were doing. And he was commanding them like a general commanding an army. "Communication link is open," said a woman at one of the computers. Nodded. He pressed a button and his voice went out to the approaching ships. "This is Station 47. You are entering protected space. Turn back now and there will be no conflict. Continue your approach and you will be destroyed." A rough voice answered. It was full of arrogance and cruelty. "Listen to the little mechanic threatening us. We are the Blood Claw Raiders. We have destroyed bigger stations than yours. Surrender now, give us your goods, and maybe we will let some of you live." His face did not change. "You have made your choice, remember that." He cut the communication and turned to his people. "They will attack in 3 minutes. All stations ready." "Yes, sir." "Good." Looked at a screen showing the outside of the station. Could see the raider ships now, dark shapes against the stars. They were moving closer, their weapons starting to glow. She expected fear, she expected panic, but the humans in the room were calm. They trusted, they believed in him. "Fire when they enter range," said quietly. The next few minutes were chaos. The raider ships attacked from all sides, firing their weapons at the station. The station's shields flashed as they absorbed the hits, and then the station fired back. Had not known the station had weapons. She had thought it was just a repair facility. But now she saw hidden guns appearing from the hull, firing beams of light at the attacking ships. The humans controlled them with skill and precision, hitting targets that seemed impossible to hit. One raider ship exploded, then another. The humans cheered but silenced them with a look. "Focus, there are still 10 ships out there." The battle continued. Watched in amazement as directed his people. He saw everything. He knew everything. When a shield section started to fail, he ordered power rerouted before anyone else noticed the problem. When 3 raiders tried to attack the same point, he predicted their move and had weapons waiting for them. It was like watching a master artist paint a picture, except the picture was made of fire and death. 4 more raider ships fell, then 2 more. The remaining 4 started to retreat, their confidence finally broken. "They're running," said, her voice excited. "Let them go," said. "They will tell others what happened here. That will keep us safe for a while." He turned off the weapons and took a deep breath. For a moment, his mask of control slipped and saw exhaustion in his eyes. Then it was gone, and he was the calm mechanic again. "Check all systems," he ordered. "I want damage reports in 10 minutes. Make sure everyone in the safe zones is okay. And someone get Commander something to drink. She looks like she needs it." Realized her hands were shaking. She had been in battles before, but never as a spectator. Never watching someone else fight and win. It was a strange feeling. Brought her a cup of water, took it and drank deeply. "Are you okay?" asked. Yes, I am fine," looked at. He was talking to some of his people, giving them instructions in his quiet voice. How did he do that? How did he know what to do? Smiled sadly. Knows a lot of things, more than any mechanic should know. He is not just a mechanic, is he? Was silent for a moment, then she shook her head. No, he is not, but that is his story to tell, not mine. The next few hours were busy. The station had taken some damage, though nothing serious. Organized repair teams and sent them to fix the problems. He checked on the people who had been in the safe zones, making sure everyone was unharmed. He did everything a good leader should do. Followed him at a distance, watching everything. She had so many questions, but she did not know how to ask them. The proud commander who had arrived 3 days ago felt very small now. She had looked down on this man. She had called his station dirty and his work worthless, and he had just saved her life without asking for anything in return. That evening, found in the repair bay, he was working on her ship again like nothing had happened. His hands were steady. His face was calm. He looked like a simple mechanic once more. "You saved us all today," said. Did not look up from his work. "The station defended itself. I just helped." "That is not true. I saw what you did. I saw how you commanded those people. That was not the work of a mechanic. That was the work of a military leader." Was silent for a long moment. His hands stopped moving. Then he looked at her with those calm, dark eyes. "Commander, do you know why I work as a mechanic?" Shook her head. "Because when I fix things, no one dies. When I build things, I create instead of destroy. I spent too many years breaking things. Now I want to spend my years putting them back together." His words were simple, but they held a weight that could feel in her chest. She wanted to ask more. She wanted to know everything. But something in his eyes told her to stop. This was not the time. "Thank you," she said instead, "for saving me, for saving everyone." Nodded slowly. "You are welcome, Commander. Now please let me finish my work. Your ship will be ready soon." Left the repair bay with her mind full of questions. Who was really? What had he done before coming to this station? Why did a man with such obvious skill and leadership choose to hide as a simple mechanic? She thought about what he had said. He had spent years breaking things. He wanted to spend his years putting them back together. What had he broken, and why did he want to forget it so badly? The answers were coming, could feel it. The truth about was close now, waiting to be discovered. And when it came, she knew nothing would ever be the same. Could not sleep that night. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything she had seen. The battle, the way he had commanded his people, the way he had spoken about breaking things and putting them back together. There was something there, a piece of a puzzle she could not see, a truth hiding in plain sight. She got out of bed and sat by her window. The stars were quiet and peaceful as always, but her mind was not peaceful. It was full of questions that demanded answers. Who was? She knew she should not care. He was just a human. Her ship would be ready tomorrow or the day after. She would leave and never see him again. His secrets were his own business. But she could not let it go. Something about him had touched her in a way she did not understand. Maybe it was his skill. Maybe it was his calm strength. Maybe it was the sadness she sometimes saw hiding behind his eyes. Whatever it was, she needed to know. The next morning, went to the station's library. It was a small room with old paper books and a few computer terminals. She sat down at one of the terminals and started searching. She did not know what she was looking for. She typed in different words and phrases. Human military history, famous human commanders, wars involving humans. The results were endless. Humans had fought many wars among themselves and against other species. Then she tried something different. She searched for Rim Wars. The Rim Wars. She remembered hearing about them when she was young, a terrible conflict that had happened about 15 years ago. Several species had fought over control of the outer rim territories. Millions had died. Whole planets had been destroyed. And it had been a human who ended it. Felt her heart beat faster as she read. The articles told the story of a human admiral who had risen from nowhere. A brilliant tactical mind who had won impossible battles. A leader who had united different species against a common enemy. A man who had brought peace to the rim territories through a combination of strength and wisdom. His name was Admiral. Stared at the screen. It could not be, it was impossible. Admiral was a legend, a hero. Why would such a man hide on a small repair station, pretending to be a simple mechanic? She searched for more information, pictures, videos, any image of Admiral she could find. Most of the pictures were from far away. Battle scenes, ships in formation. The Admiral was always a small figure in the distance, giving orders on the bridge of his flagship. But she found one picture that was closer. A ceremony after the war ended. Admiral receiving a medal from the United Human Council. The picture was old and not very clear, but could see the face, the calm eyes, the small scar above the left eyebrow, the quiet strength in the expression. There was no doubt. Sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. The quiet mechanic who had fixed her ship was one of the most famous military leaders in recent history. The man she had insulted and looked down on was a hero who had saved millions of lives. She felt sick. She felt ashamed. She felt like the biggest fool in the entire galaxy. Why had he not said anything? Why had he let her treat him like dirt? Why had he pretended to be nothing when he was actually everything? She needed to find him. She needed to talk to him. She needed to understand. Left the library and went to the repair bay. Was there, working on her ship as always. He looked up when she entered, and something in her face made him stop. "Commander, is something wrong?" "I know who you are," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Admiral, the hero of the Rim Wars, the man who saved the outer territories." His face did not change. He looked at her for a long moment with those calm, dark eyes. Then he put down his tools and wiped his hands on a cloth. "I wondered how long it would take you to find out," he said quietly. "Why?" His voice cracked. "Why are you here? Why are you pretending to be a mechanic? You could be commanding fleets. You could be leading nations. Why are you hiding?" Was silent for a moment. Then he walked over to a bench and sat down. He looked tired, older than before. "Do you know how many people died in the Rim Wars?" he asked. Shook her head. 14 million. That is the official number. The real number is probably higher. 14 million lives ended because species could not share territory, because leaders were too proud to compromise, because war is easier than peace. He looked at his hands. "I commanded ships that killed thousands. I gave orders that destroyed space stations and colonies. I did what I had to do to end the war, but I will never forget the cost." "You saved lives," said. "You ended the war. You are a hero." "I am a killer." His voice was flat. I killed more people than the raiders who attacked us yesterday. I killed them because I was good at it, because I knew exactly how to break ships and stations and planets. That is not something to celebrate. Did not know what to say. She had never thought about war this way. In culture, warriors were honored. Victory was celebrated. No one talked about the cost. When the war ended, everyone wanted me to stay, continued. They offered me medals and titles and power, but I could not do it anymore. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces of the dead. Every time I slept, I dreamed of fire and screaming. He looked up at her. So I disappeared. I changed my name, I found this station, and I started fixing things instead of breaking them. Every ship I repair is a ship that will not become wreckage. Every engine I save is a life that will not be lost. It is not enough to make up for what I did. Nothing will ever be enough. But it is something. Felt tears in her eyes. She did not know why she was crying. She never cried. But his words had cut through her pride and reached something deep inside her. I am sorry, she whispered. I treated you so badly. I called you primitive. I called your station dirty. I acted like you were beneath me, and all along you were. A person, said simply, just like you, just like everyone else. That is the thing about labels, Commander. They stop us from seeing the truth. You looked at me and saw a human mechanic. I looked at you and saw a commander, but we are both just people trying to find our way through the darkness. Wiped her eyes. She felt like everything she believed was falling apart. Her whole life she had been taught that we're better than other species, that humans were primitive workers, that aliens were inferior. But here was a human who had done more good than she ever would. Here was a mechanic who had more wisdom than any philosopher on her home world. Here was a killer who had become a healer because he wanted to make things right. The other humans, she said, do they know who you are? Nodded. Some of them, knows, a few others. They keep my secret because they understand why I need it. But yesterday, during the attack, they followed you like soldiers. Old habits are hard to break. When there is danger, people look for someone to lead them, and I cannot let innocent people die when I have the power to save them. His voice was sad. That is my curse. I gave up war, but war did not give up me. Sat down on a nearby crate. Her legs were weak. Her mind was full. What happens now? She asked. Your secret is not safe anymore. I know the truth. Looked at her for a long moment. What will you do with that truth, Commander? It was a fair question. Thought about it carefully. She could tell people. She could spread the news that Admiral was alive and hiding on Station 47. It would be a big story. People would come from everywhere to see the legendary hero. But then she looked at. She saw the tiredness in his eyes, the pain he carried every day, the peace he had found in fixing broken things. Nothing, she said finally. I will do nothing. Your secret is safe with me. Studied her face for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. Thank you, Commander. They sat in silence for a while. The repair bay was quiet around them. The other workers had finished for the day. It was just the two of them, surrounded by ships and tools and the ghosts of the past. Your ship will be ready tomorrow, said eventually. The repairs are almost complete. You will be able to leave and continue your journey. Nodded, but for the first time since arriving, she did not want to leave. She wanted to stay on this station. She wanted to learn more about and the humans who followed him. She wanted to understand how a killer could become a healer. But she had her own duties, her own responsibilities. She could not hide from them the way it had hidden from his past. Thank you, she said, for everything, for fixing my ship, for saving my life, for teaching me things I did not know I needed to learn. Smiled. It was the first real smile she had seen from him. It changed his whole face, making him look younger and lighter. That is what mechanics do, Commander. We fix broken things. Sometimes those things are ships, sometimes they are ideas, sometimes they are people. He stood up and offered her his hand. She took it. His grip was warm and strong. Sleep well, Commander. Tomorrow will be a new day. She left the repair bay and walked slowly to her room. Her mind was quiet now. The questions had been answered. The mystery had been solved. But as she lay in her bed, looking at the stars through her window, she felt a deep sadness. She had discovered a great truth today. She had learned that humans were not what she thought they were. She had learned that heroes could be found in the most unexpected places. And she had learned that some truths came too late to change anything. Tomorrow she would leave. She would go back to her life, her duties, her people, and would stay here, fixing ships, hiding from his past, trying to make up for sins that could never be forgiven. They would probably never see each other again. The thought hurt more than she expected. The morning came too quickly. Woke up with a heavy feeling in her chest. Today was the day she would leave. Today was the day she would say goodbye to Station 47 and everyone on it. She got dressed slowly, taking more time than usual. She looked at her face in the mirror and saw someone different from the woman who had arrived 5 days ago. That woman had been proud and cold and full of judgment. This woman was humble and confused and full of questions. 5 days. That was all it had taken to change everything she believed. She went to the food hall for breakfast, smiled at her from behind the counter, the same warm smile as always. "Good morning, Commander. Last day with us. I made something special for you." Put a plate in front of her. It was full of favorite foods, prepared exactly the way she liked them, had paid attention during the last few days. She had noticed what enjoyed and what she did not. "Thank you," said, and the words felt different now. They were not just polite sounds. They were real gratitude from her heart. "You are welcome," looked at her with kind eyes. "You are not the same person who came here, you know. I can see it in your face." "I do not feel like the same person," admitted. "That is good. Growth is never comfortable, but it is always valuable." Patted her hand gently. "Travel safe, Commander, and remember what you learned here." Ate her breakfast slowly, watching the humans around her. They talked and laughed and lived their lives, just like they did every day. They did not know that she had changed. They did not know that their simple existence had taught her more than years of study at schools. Humans were not primitive, they were not inferior, they were just different, and different did not mean less. After breakfast, went to the repair bay. Her ship was waiting for her, looking better than it had in years. The hull was smooth and perfect. The engines hummed with power. Even the paint had been touched up, hiding the scars of battle. Stood next to the ship, his hands in his pockets, his face calm as always. "It is ready," he said. "I ran all the tests. Everything is working perfectly. You should have no problems on your journey." Walked around the ship, touching the new metal, feeling the quality of the work. It was beautiful. It was more than she had asked for or paid for. "You did more than just repair it," she said. "You made it better." "I had some extra time," shrugged. "Your ship is a good design. I just helped it reach its full potential." Stopped walking and looked at him. In the light of the repair bay, he looked like any other mechanic. Dirty clothes, grease on his hands, tired eyes, but she knew now what was hiding behind that simple appearance. "I have been thinking," she said, "about what happens next." Raised his eyebrows but said nothing. "I go back to my life, my duties, my people. I pretend that nothing has changed. I smile and follow orders and do what is expected of me." Took a deep breath. "But everything has changed. I cannot pretend anymore. I cannot look at humans the way I used to. I cannot believe the things I was taught." "That sounds difficult," said quietly. "It is, but it is also necessary." Stepped closer to him. "You taught me something important. You taught me that strength is not about power or position. It is about choices. You chose to stop fighting. You chose to fix instead of break. You chose to be kind to someone who treated you badly. That takes more courage than any battle." Was silent for a moment, then he shook his head slowly. "I did not make those choices for courage. I made them because I was tired, because I could not carry the weight anymore. There is nothing heroic about running away from your past. You did not run away. You changed direction. There is a difference. Looked at her with something like surprise, as if he had not expected such words from her, as if he had not expected anyone to understand. Maybe you are right, he said finally, or maybe you are just being kind. I am being honest. For the first time in a long time, I am being completely honest. They stood in silence, looking at each other. There was so much wanted to say. She wanted to thank him for opening her eyes. She wanted to apologize for every cruel word she had spoken. She wanted to ask him to come with her, to leave this station and find a new life somewhere else. But she knew that was impossible. He had found his peace here. He had found his purpose. She had no right to take that away from him. I should go, she said at last. Her voice was thick with emotion. My people are expecting me. Nodded, I understand. Will you be okay, here alone with your memories? I am not alone. I have and the others. They are my family now, the only family I need. Nodded, but her heart was breaking. She did not want to leave. She wanted to stay on this ugly little station with its strange humans and their mysterious leader. She wanted to learn more, see more, understand more. But some doors only open once, and she had waited too long to walk through this one. Thank you, she said, for everything. Thank you, replied, for keeping my secret, for seeing me as more than just a mechanic. He held out his hand. She took it. His grip was warm and strong just like before, but this time she did not want to let go. Goodbye, Admiral, she whispered. Goodbye, Commander. She let go of his hand and walked toward her ship. Each step felt heavy. Each step took her further from something she had only just discovered. At the door of her ship, she turned back one last time, was still standing there watching her. His face was calm, but she thought she saw something in his eyes. Sadness, maybe, or regret, or something else she could not name. She raised her hand in a small wave. He nodded in return. Then she stepped into her ship and closed the door. The launch was smooth. Her ship rose from the bay and flew out into the darkness of space. Through her window, she watched Station 47 grow smaller and smaller until it was just a dot of light among the stars. Then it was gone. Sat in her pilot's seat for a long time, not moving, not thinking, just feeling. The universe stretched out before her, endless and indifferent. Somewhere behind her was a man who had changed everything. A mechanic who was a hero, a warrior who had become a healer, a human who was more than human. She thought about the story she would tell when she got home. Her ship was attacked by raiders. She landed on a human station for repairs. The humans fixed her ship and she left. Simple, forgettable, a small adventure with no importance. No one would know about. No one would know about the battle or the truth she had discovered. No one would know that a commander had learned to see humans differently. That was how it had to be, wanted to be forgotten. He wanted to live his quiet life, fixing broken things, making up for his past. She would honor that wish. But she would never forget. Years later, when she rose to high positions in the military, would think of often. She would think of him when she made difficult decisions. She would think of him when others told her that humans were inferior. She would think of him when she was tempted to choose power over peace. She would never see him again. She would never know if he was still alive, still fixing ships, still hiding from the legend he had left behind. But he would always be with her. A quiet voice in her mind, reminding her that strength was not about breaking things, but about putting them back together. And sometimes, late at night, when the stars were quiet and the universe felt infinite, she would remember a mechanic with calm eyes and gentle hands. She would remember the truth that came too late. She would remember the moment she realized that she had met someone extraordinary and had almost missed it completely. The universe was full of secrets. Some were hidden in ancient temples. Some were locked in forgotten libraries. Some were carried in the hearts of legends who just wanted to be ordinary. Had found one of those secrets. She had seen the truth behind the mask, and even though she could never go back, even though the moment had passed forever, she was grateful. She had thought he was only a mechanic. She had been wrong. And now, flying through the endless dark, she understood that being wrong was sometimes the beginning of being right. The stars sparkled outside her window. Her ship hummed with new life. And somewhere far behind her, on a small station in the middle of nowhere, a man named put down his tools and looked up at the sky. He did not know that she was thinking of him. He did not know that she would carry his story for the rest of her life. He just knew that another ship was flying again, another person was safe, and another piece of his soul had been healed. That was enough. It had to be enough. Because some truths are found too late to change the past. But they are never too late to change the future.